Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you for taking the time out to attend this webinar session where we will share more on how we can manage tenant security remotely. In this webinar, we have Mohammed Maraj, who is a technology consultant from CHASSasia Group, as well as Ms. Angela Chu, General Manager, Voleer, APAC, as part of the panelists to share on how we can manage this tenant security remotely. Now, the current COVID-19 situation has prompted a lot of uncertainties given the policy change from time to time by our government that is put in place to curb the spread of the COVID-19. This generally affected a lot of our livelihood, of course, with movement control and instilling fear in some of our citizens. One of the key policy that was announced last Friday was the classification of essential and non-essential services. Now, as we all know, that all the classified non-essential services are instructed to work from home. Places like public playgrounds, swimming pools, and schools closures caused a lot of cultural shift in how we handled this particular change in work and in life, in our family life. I'm pleased to share that both CHASSasia Group and BitTitan Voleer, we are both classified as an essential service company, and we will continue to service our customers during this circuit breaker period with strict protocol in place. For example, CHASSasia has mandated that all employees, those that will still be working in office, will be on rotating shift, and also mandated to be wearing a mask whenever they are out in public or visit to our customer site. So in this session, we have invited Angela Chu, General Manager for Voleer APAC, to share with us the challenges of working from home remotely. Now, in fact, Voleer has already implemented the work from home policy a month before the circuit breaker even started. So Angela, BitTitan is a software automation company. CHASSasia is very excited about our partnership. We also understand that BitTitan Voleer is a 100% cloud-based company. Of course, with presence all over the world. As a BU head yourself, can you share with us what are the few key challenges of your employees working from home in terms of technologies, yet still at the same time ensuring that your company's IS policy are still maintained? Also on how you leverage on the same technologies that are available in the market today.
Right. So thank you for the invite again, Benson. I know that this is episode 2 of CHASSasia webinar, and I'm indeed honored to be invited again as a panelist. So, so talking about COVID situation. So in fact, in BitTitan, we actually have our first round of session of implementing BCP. Like to be exact, it's like 1.5 months ago. So I started working 1.5 months ago. Rather than only like yesterday, rather than last Tuesday. Yeah. So when we first, so we actually told our entire workforce in Singapore, we have 40 over of us, telling them that we have to be on a staggered work shift, mainly Team A and Team B. So I think the first thing that comes into everyone's mind is not about, oh my God, is technology ready? Because BitTitan, our systems, our platform, 100% cloud-based, we are always ready to have remote workforce. And the thing is, they only worry about, our colleagues in the Singapore office as well. When can I see my colleagues again? Team A, Team B, I miss my colleagues in Team B, and I miss my colleagues in Team A. That is the only challenge that we have, from a staff morale perspective. Yeah, so we actually leverage on different kind of tools to keep our morale high and continue to be collaborated. We actually adopt technologies from Microsoft. So we use Teams for our communication, for our collaboration. And we are also, like I mentioned, we are 100% on cloud. We are actually on Microsoft Azure, secure. Yeah. So I think the other challenges is also, working from home. I think a lot of our audience here will know that, oh, I need to manage my time. And it seems I'm busier working from home than, in office. And I don't have a business grade Wi-Fi like in the office. Yeah, because you never know when the Wi-Fi is going to be down when you're working. Yeah, things, Murphy's Law, when something happens, things just happen simultaneously. So, so the thing here is, we have to ensure that, our employees' morale is high by having virtual lunch. Yeah, so we do have virtual lunch internally, and we also do keep track of our employees' productivity. Not because we want to ensure that they work at home, it's more so whereby we want them to continue to feel engaged. Yeah, so in order to find that they optimize and, you know, and also ensure that productivity is high up, we actually have tools internally which we use, because since day one we have been talking about automation here. So we do have tools whereby we use we do proactive approach when it comes to security, because a lot of our employees are remote during this COVID situation, and even way before COVID. Yeah, so we actually look at reports that has been generated through our systems to look at where the vulnerabilities are, and to look at, you know, potential highlights whereby there is a malware or phishing attack. Yeah. So, you know, cloud security is very important. That is why we put a lot of emphasis in terms of resources to ensure that we have the latest technology to develop different types of assessments and automation within our internal and also for our customers. Yeah.
Yeah, so that align to that. Most of the company today, when they're looking at the concept of working from home, they basically have two main key factors. One is the productivity side of things. The other one is what the IS policy is all about. Because the true fact of the matter is, in terms of security, right? Most of the attacks happen on the endpoint devices, which is more user initiated, which is from the user end, right? So we can't simply just trust the fact that the business users will be able to take care of the security and understand how IS policy is like. So to put them as a front line of defense seems a little bit hard to control in some point, which is why I feel that which is why we should all feel that having a software automation company that generate reports like this to give you a one overview will be able to help you react faster, given that everybody is in different places at this one time.
Correct. Yeah, so you're totally right. You know, the thing is not that we don't trust our colleagues who work remotely. It's more so whereby, because we are in a world of consumerization, you know, within your mobile device, you also have your own personal application. Yeah. You know, you have your own Facebook account, you have your own IG account, you know, LinkedIn used for business, but you actually register it on a personal basis. Yeah, so all these are vulnerabilities that will expose us to security failures, security risk, and that is why, you know, in Big Titan, we moved to cloud in a very early stage when cloud is happening, you know, like maybe 10 years ago, 13 years ago. Yeah, so we moved into cloud. That is where we always have the frontline advantage of, you know, knowing what are the security challenges that a cloud company will face. And that is where we use our experience to develop automation and reports for our customers.
Yeah. So Maraj, for the security monitor portion, some challenges we face are more on the fragmented logs. These are all given by the respective vendor themselves. How in your opinion, how would you feel that the best way is to seamlessly integrate all this information to a single view?
Thanks, Benson, for the question. Okay, there are multiple tools today that can help you collect logs. Okay, but to get them both from on-prem as well as cloud sources is going to be difficult. Okay, so what we have created as a solution is to find ways to both ingest logs from the cloud as well as from on-prem solutions. So in this case, sorry.
Yeah, so this is where Angela came in fact, which mentioned a keyword called automation, right? So when we talk about automation, what we want is more like a lazy way out. One click of a button and we basically get on information we need down here. So Voleer is also at the same time developing things more like an analysis in terms of statistics for you to read and understand how that business is being run remotely today. Right. So Angela, would you like to add on to this part of the things?
Yeah, so in fact, you know, we as a user, and you know, I'm the head of sales for APAC for Voleer, and when I talk to customers, right, a lot of them have challenges when they have a potential attack, or really, in fact, unfortunately, an attack. So when we receive calls from customers, and I'm thinking, Chas, you yourself also receive calls from customers whenever there's an attack. You know, the challenges is that the first thing that comes to mind of a customer is, when can I get my service up? Yeah. So as a frontline service provider, you know, like us, an IT service provider, what we will do is we make sure that the service is up first, because we are responsible for the revenue of our customers and the business of our customers. Yeah. Yep. But at the end of the day, if you want to look at it, right, if you want to look at the root cause, there are so many different kinds of security tools out in the market. And different customers use different security tools. Yeah. So we reckon that, you know, we actually did some study. You know, in order to get to the root cause of an attack, we actually spent coming to 197 days. That is where, you know, we envisioned ourselves to get into automation, and we wanted to provide our customers, and including BTitan ourselves, you know, a way whereby we can react fast so that our business will not be impacted, and our customer business will not be impacted too. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is pretty much aligned to what Gartner has mentioned in one of their news articles as well. Given the IT spending worldwide, probably a good increase of 3.4 per year per annum. What that is not shown here is most of this spending actually comes from enterprise software. So you were right and correctly spot on that there are so many solutions out there in the market today, and none of the solution is a one solution fit all for our customers. Yes. But this resulted in an increase in spendings just to cover certain holes within the infrastructure itself. Most of the vendor, I mean, through software developing, they will tend to add in a little bit more features to sell it as a bundle. This will basically give you a wide coverage, a wide spectrum of features you can choose from. But majority of our customer that even CHASSasia ourselves we spoke to, they don't usually use those features as much as what they want for their primary reasons. This basically come down and boil down to what the return on investment is like. You end up paying X amount more just to do what you want to do when you don't touch on the other features, or you don't even consider the other features down there. So enterprise software is a very good IT spending today that most of people are looking at, but that's where we came into the part called the optimization, software optimization. This basically reduced the need, or rather reduce the cost of acquisition for any software or any solutions they require. Of course, with those enterprise software that comes in, with the ROI that I've just mentioned, for CHASSasia, what we did was we developed our own managed services, which Maraj will touch on in a while. We call it the technology lifecycle. It basically comes in 4 quadrants: the assessment, deployment, the manage, and the remediate part. There is no start to this circle. You can jump in anytime. From deployment, we get to manage. When we manage, we get to patch by remediating, and then we assess again. So this is like a turnkey solution down here. So Maraj, you want to touch on this a little bit more?
Yes. Okay, so how we envisioned our managed services is that although we run projects now for our customers, so for example, typically we will come in at a typical SI will come in at the deployment phase, and then we will do the manage, get your users on board, do the testing, and remediate issues as and when it happens. But at each of these points, the deployment has already been done, and you need to start assessing as early as possible. So in terms of assessment, although there is a special phase where we do the reporting and we do the alert analysis and the events analysis, at each point in this case, CHASSasia Managed Services is able to get reports on almost anything that we've deployed. So specifically to perhaps O365 as a use case, let's say we are migrating to users to O365 or M365, we are able to assess how the system performs, or what your user habits are, and give you the feedback periodically. So that's the aim of the managed services in this case.
The technology lifecycle is also fundamentally used to help to understand the customer more in terms of what they own today. So when we do this continuously with the customer, which is why this is a turnkey solution, we are able to, in some way, I wouldn't use the word influence, but we're able to in some way understand how the specific vertical works in aiding them to design what their IS policy is like for the next year as well. When that time comes, of course, we use the same fundamental assessment, deployment, manage, remediation to help plan out what there is to help the customers with their new IS policy, their conditional accesses, so and so on.
That's true.
So Muraj, you will touch on the MFA as one of the topic later on. So let's go to the next one, right? So based on what we mentioned about the Gartner spending, the Gartner report on the spending, we are looking at the whole suite of solution. This is just the assessment part of it. We do optimization, consumption, and security assessment, whereby we further categorize into your tenant optimization and consumption. We'll do the security and compliance, and then followed by the user account security, as well as the targeted user notification for any breaches down here. This is by far a very whole summary view of what automation can bring to you on the table today. We will get to those slides later. For the utilization report, we first look at your license optimization. Who buys what? Who uses what? As you know, in the O365 tenant today, you're able to classify them into groups. For example, sales groups, you have your admin groups, and so on. That's where you decide what are the plans available to buy. When we look at the license optimization part, we want to identify license that is first incorrectly assigned, because when it's incorrectly assigned, that means your ROI is higher. So your return of investment is lower, because you end up buying things and features that the specific department or group may not necessarily use. We also want to use this opportunity to consolidate SKU. For example, if you buy multiple a la carte software, and there's actually one software that's able to give you a suite of services. So in terms of cost optimization, that's where we recommend based on your company's requirement. We also want to standardize in terms of license assignments across users, titles, department. One of the key challenges today is in the sense of BitTitan Voleer, because you're a global MNC, you have multiple, even though you may have the same tenant, but you have multiple officers and multiple IT managers managing the same tenant at the same time. And when you don't have a central HQ to manage all these things, you end up having different countries buying different kind of licenses. But those country to country wise, they may have the same role, sales role, they may have the admin role as well. Henceforth, I think this report actually gives us an overview of how that is being assigned, how the licenses are being assigned, how the different countries are buying a license, which gives us a very good opportunity to talk about the cost optimization in this report.
Yeah.
The next one will be the exchange utilization. Exchange utilization is a very interesting report that BitTitan Voleer has done up with us. We not just identify total email sent received. The purpose of having this graph is to identify the pattern of how emails flow are coming in, right? So when we identify certain pattern, we are able to tell between the past 90 days versus 180 days, how many surge of emails are there. When there's a huge surge, obviously, I think there could potentially be a security element down here. We actually showed this report to one of our customers in the hospitality industry. So they do have a surge of received mail up to 13%, which is close to about 130,000 emails coming in for the last 90 days. So we thought that, hey, since you guys are in the hospitality, it's very common for you to have surge, so and so on, because of people sending inquiries to reserve hotel rooms or to ask for rates. But that's not so much the case, because we then quiz them. We start to ask question things like when there's a surge and it's not the norm, first we look at whether is there a public holiday. We also look at the fact that is there any marketing drive being run out for that period of time. So the answer was no. When the answer was no, we immediately picked this up as one of the security threat that comes in. So we further investigated this security threat and realized that in their tenant report, in terms of the security and compliance, there is actually some alarming statistics that we noted of in terms of the phishing and the malware part of things. So these are reports that this platform can provide, that the Voleer platform can actually provide for you to do an in-depth investigation.
One more point, I think perhaps in this kind of times, Angela, do you think this kind of reports can be used to track user productivity? Would you, from a VU head perspective?
Yes, yes, definitely. You know, because it tracks the number of email that I send and receive. Yeah.
So you can see whether your users are in general working. Is there a dip in productivity in this time?
I mean, but personally, as a BU head, I wouldn't use email, frankly speaking. My personal view is that I wouldn't look at the total number of emails sent and received as a form of productivity. Yeah, because ultimately revenue matters. I look at revenue.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so to continue on, the SharePoint utilization shows you how many files, what is the storage, how many sites do you have in total. This can also be used for IT managers, central IT managers, to look at the need to whether you need to clean up or not. Because as you know, that SharePoint tenant from O365 has a limited storage capacity. Right, so most of the time is people happily just create sites like this for BU. They store a lot of files, they don't do cleanup. So these are gone were the days where you need to go SharePoint and check through every site to see what is the storage to use. We actually, in this report, we're actually able to tell you what are the sites. Of course, in the summary, what you see is a graph, but we can tell you what are the sites, how many sites utilize how many storage space, etc., etc. These are just some of the capability to help the IT managers do their optimization as well. Teams utilization, during this period of time, of course, everybody is working from home. If we were to run a Teams utilization on organizations out there, I'm pretty sure that the Teams utilization will surge up to the top. We are able to identify the kind of inactive teams, the channels that most people create for collaboration. As you all know, that Teams works with basically OneDrive and SharePoint very closely. Whatever files you first need to create a Teams channel for collaboration, right? And then you will store all your project files, your sales calls, everything inside. Now, all these files are actually stored in SharePoint, right? In SharePoint, which is why a need to clean up is very important when that project has closed, right? But most of them, they are just keeping it down there, taking up storage space. We're also able to check what are the limits, the channel limits, what are teams and channels that have very similar names meant for cleanup, who are the guest users, and what is the kind of distribution of teams per user. Like for example, I have maybe involved in 10 teams, Mirage is involved in 20 teams, channel, that kind of thing. These help us to identify not just workloads, but the amount of collaboration that is needed in terms of different roles in different organizations. Up till now, in terms of the tenant security report, we are able to see what is the spoof activity, the malware activity, and forwarding activity. So with reference to the hospitality industry that I shared earlier on, so what we found out was that there was a lot of phishing email coming in, and those just after further investigation were targeted at finance people. This is pretty common, but there was a very huge search for this case. And not only that, we also see a surge in malwares. What is incoming for malware is not really that alarming, because you would probably have your own EDR, EPP to do the necessary blockage. What is very alarming is the number of malware that is coming out from the environment, that is being sent out from the environment. This is where this report will be able to give you the overview and at the same time zoom down into the investigation of this. Mirage, you got any point to add on to the next few slides also?
Yeah, perhaps you can zoom into the, okay, for example, if you zoom into the slide, to the chart before this. Okay, so the orange line over here refers to malware outgoing, and the blue lines refer to malware incoming. So in this case, you will see that perhaps there is an issue that needs to be addressed, because in this case, there are malwares outgoing. Of course, we'll have to click down and go into the details view to see the actual sources of the people, but this is where your emergency detection and response will start from, to see who has been compromised, which user or which device has been compromised. And then you're planning from this on whether you're going to implement, for example, conditional access to ensure that user devices are adequately protected when accessing the systems. There was also a question.
To add on,
yeah.
Yeah, so sorry. So to add on to that, about last year, I read from an article from the NSA, which is the National Security Agency in US. They mentioned that in the past 24 months as of last year, in fact, all the malware that is infected or causes a lot of financial losses, they are not malware that is new. They are not 0 days malware. They are not 0 days attack. They are basically malware intelligent enough to hide and bypass the perimeter defense. So with this kind of statistics in terms of why there is malware going out from your environment, this obviously what we want to send, what the message is across is typically the fact that malware are so intelligent that they can actually stay dormant in the environment for a very long time until they find a good opportunity to strike. And when that usually happens, that's where data loss happens, your financial loss happens, or your files got encrypted, so and so on.
Yeah, so Benson, you just gave me a thought whereby, working remotely, technology-wise, you can fire up a cloud instance easily, you can buy a SaaS product easily and set it up. So, getting ready for remote workforce, pretty straightforward. But I guess, one point that that we're going to highlight is that, productivity and security is really two key components whereby is very dependent on the company's survival. Yeah, because you mentioned about malware, phishing that can stay in the system for a while, because this might become an outburst even after the COVID situation that might really impact an organization. Yeah, thank you.
Maraj, the next one will be the spam filter about
Okay, so it's typical for any company to get spam now. Spam is like a fact of life today, but the question is whether you are compromised. So happily in this report, you can see at the bottom, so the top two reports are to show how frequently spam comes in. This is nothing special. Every company gets about that much spam. However, the good news is when you look at the orange line below, which is outbound spam. That means you don't have any machines that are spam sources. So no, although everybody will get the spam, but no one has been compromised as compared to the previous one where there was some infected emails going out, but none of these are spam. So it could be more malicious, we don't know. So it depends on the source in this case. I think the next slide is...
Okay. So to add on to that, what we are showing is just a graph of statistics for you to see. Of course, we are able to also deep dive inside to see which users are impacted. The objective here in terms of having this automation software is to cut down the number of time required to investigate.
Okay, okay, so this is the general overview of the kind of security assessments that we can provide. Okay. We can provide, detect whether, as of today, whether all your users come in from the correct location. So for those with multi-sites, do you have business or users coming in from Romania or Bulgaria or Nigeria, high-risk countries where there tends to be more attack threats and so on? Okay. Or are the accounts that are supposed to be protected with multi-factor authentication, are those enabled or not? Okay, these are things that we need to understand. So today's security challenges comes in the form where you want to identify, make sure that the users that log in are the users that you know, are the ones that you do authorize, and whether or not the machines that they are using are secure enough to access your systems. There's a question from the Q&A. Does this include compliance management for PCs used by staff when working from home? So I'll answer that now. Yes, so here you can tell whether or not what percentage of access is protected. So provided that your tenant, in this case, let's say we're talking about O365, that your tenant has conditional access enabled. So when you're accessing certain applications, whether or not your Windows is updated, whether your antivirus is online, or whether your VPN is encrypted correctly, and so on. These are questions which must be addressed before access is allowed. So conditional access is sort of an if-else statement. If all these conditions are met, then this machine is allowed to access. Or MFA is a concept where you identify where a user must log in with what they know, in this case passwords, something with what they have, perhaps a token or their phones, and to a greater degree something which of what they are. That will be biometrics, that means retina and fingerprints and so on. Okay, other things that this report can contribute is to identify accounts with passwords which are supposed to be reset already. That could be an indicator of these accounts being easily compromised, or they have really bad habits which need to be changed. Okay, and the number of accounts with full access granted, you should limit your administrator. Privileged access should only go to those with the knowledge or the required responsibility. Not everyone should be given the ability to change your system as and when you wish. So this kind of reports will be able to drill down on all these points and give you more insight and put you in a position where you can start a response for anything else that happens. Anything to add?
Yeah, so maybe I just share one of my personal experience. So we the IT managers, IT team in BitTitan has always been using all these assessment reports, to proactively manage the environment. So I received a trigger, an automated trigger in my mailbox, like 2 months ago, that I have a successful login through Spain, via Spain. And I was so worried, yeah. So I have an automated email, of course, from our system, our automation, saying that, Angela, you have a successful login for your Office 365 account from Spain. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So straight away, I contacted my IT manager, said, I've never been to Spain. I've never stepped in my life to Spain before, and I received this email. So the IT manager is asking me, so where are you during that time? So I happened to look back to my calendar. Oh, I'm actually on the way to somewhere in a plane, and I'm checking my email. So they tend to pick up the signal, maybe I fly across Spain. Yeah, so they check that I have a successful login. So based on that, right, seriously, I feel more assured on the data that I have. I'm more, so that I can focus on, driving business. Yeah, so I really trust the IT team that has already set all these conditions and rules in place for me to work in peace. Yeah.
We had a similar episode. Suddenly there was access from United States, but it was because we integrated with Voleer, and the login was for our service account in the United States. They were like,
right.
"Oh, did you open a new company?" Oh, okay.
Yeah, so isn't it, we are taking the responsibility as a user ourselves. Yeah, really, sometimes, IT departments, their hands are really full to give us the best technology that they can really set it up for us. So I find that it's really a good awareness for me as a user, as an Office 365 users, to really keep track of my technology well-being. Yeah.
I think there's another question of how do I get these reports? Benson?
Okay, at the end of this session, there's a QR code in there. You can actually scan onto the QR code to provide us with some of your, to provide interest, so that our account manager or sales business development people actually reach out to you to provide you a free assessment on this. What is needed is basically a service account from your O365 tenant, whereby with their service account, we're able to generate all the reports that's coming through your tenant, which is things like your M365 optimization and consumption, your security and compliance, and your user account security. So these are just one of the way we can help out by providing all this one view, call it a one view summary report to you. At the same time, we also have the managed services part of things, where we can help to monitor your tenant as well. We will probably leave that to a separate discussion as different verticals require different kind of a report separately.
We have another question. Is there any limitation on what O365 plans I'm using to get the security report? What kind of reports are included in the services? Okay, so in this case, we are using O365 as an example. Our CHASSasia managed services spans more than that O365. We can go to on-prem as well as O365. I would say is we will try to monitor what you have. If you are using O365 Plan 1, for example, there is a very small footprint of which we can assess. So there's no real limitation on what you have as long as you have O365. In this case, we can scan anything, but then you only get email scanning, for example.
So for the security and compliance part, it is limited to the plan that you have purchased. If for example, you want to do things like forensic investigation, all these things, then you would definitely need the advanced threat protection from Microsoft. It's only then we can generate this report out from your tenant.
Are there any more questions?
Okay, so the QR code is here. You can do a scan me, and you can key in the interest in the landing page, and we'll reach out to you. There is another one. I'm not sure if you addressed it. Another question is, will my data be exposed if I use this service?
So the answer is for this will be no, because if you delegate administration, all we get are you can cut down exactly to what access you're giving us. So for a delegated admin, in this case, we only get access to run this through an API, to run this service through an API and extract fields. Correct me if I'm wrong, Angela. So I don't think you will be able to pull any data specifically out of this API.
So what I believe is that because this is all generated through the Office 365 tenant report, there is generally no need for another kind of compliance comment in there, because we will all have to follow the Microsoft Trust Center's commitment to the customer. And this is all back-to-back with the customer. We do not pull out anything more than what Microsoft can provide to you. Angela, would you like to confirm?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so in fact, the platform that we are using for the automation, we are on Microsoft Azure. Yeah, so in fact, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you're right on that. You're right on that, Benson.
Okay.
Are we able to get M365 events such as DLP? Yes, depends on the plan that you're on. The bigger the plan, the more data that we get.
Okay. Okay, we will just, if there's any questions, additional questions, you can actually write to us at inquiry-sg@chassasia.com. Alternatively, if you want to know more about how you can get hold of this assessment report, you can do a scan me on the QR code and then fill in the landing page, and one of our representatives will be contacting you back. Okay, so for Maraj and Angela, would you like to add on anything before we close off this session?
Yeah, I would like to thank Chas for inviting me. In fact, you know, I guess, you know, the COVID situation really accelerate the digital transformation fast. Yeah, so a lot of organizations really starts to adopt new technology, and I will urge the audience here, you know, every one of us, you know, to ensure that we do the right thing for the business, and by, you know, by implementing proactive measures, getting data, you know, to ensure that we have a seamless business moving forward even after COVID. Yeah, productivity, security, top in your mind. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Angela. It's our pleasure to have you on board as well. Yeah. Sorry, Maraj, please.
Okay. So I will encourage, since we are on the topic of O365, I will encourage administrators to look into starting up, implementing MFA and conditional access as soon as possible if your license allows it. These are really easy to implement. It can be up and running really, really quickly. O365 provides a lot of security benefits. Look to, especially in this time where you need to enable things quickly, where things need to be up quickly. So if you are already on the cloud, I congratulate you. Everything will be a lot easier from now on.
Okay. So once again, on behalf of both Angela and Maraj, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I hope that you guys are safe, have a healthy lunch, and continue on. We will definitely be able to overcome this circuit breaker crisis. Okay. So thank you, and
Thank you.
see you again in our next episode.
Stay safe.
All right.